Hello, my name is Ryan McAvoy.
And my name is Scott Smoot. Today we will be presenting on the biomechanics of an instep soccer kick.
Now for some background in history. So the act of kicking and controlling a ball with your feet has been referenced in various cultures throughout history and cited to date back as far as 2nd and 3rd century China. The game of soccer that is known today actually descends from a game commonly called football, especially in European nations, and it has been traced specifically to the country of Great Britain. It was initially a highly disorganized game commonly played between local villages and towns.
FIFA, or the Fédération Internationale de Football Association, is the governing body of the largest soccer organization in the world. It was founded in 1904 and initially included 7 countries, but as of 2007, there are 208 country members. FIFA organizes and deliberates on several tournaments around the world, most popular being the World Cup, which is held every 4 years. Some rules in overview. There are two 45-minute halves in which the clock counts up towards 90 minutes. Each team has 11 players, 10 field players, and 1 goalie, and the goal is to outscore the opposing team. A team can win, lose, or tie.
Now, what is an instep soccer kick? To anyone who has played the game of soccer or is familiar with the sport, it is definitely a motion that you see constantly in the game. Essentially, it can be broken down into 5 different sections, and these include the approach, the support foot plant, the backswing, the foot to ball contact, and the follow through. Now, here's a quick video going over what an instep soccer kick is. So as you can see, it's the action of the player running directly up to the ball and placing their plant foot next to the ball. They then bring their leg, their kicking leg, the leg opposite the planting leg, and swing it around their body and through the ball. The player's primary goal is to contact their laces directly with the ball and then follow through to generate the most powerful kick. Now, the goal of our presentation is to break down this process and this action into the biomechanical principles that create it. From our study and research, we have found that these biomechanical principles include angular velocity, conservation of momentum, and ground reaction forces. Now, for angular velocity. So a greater angular velocity of the kicking leg creates a greater power generation, which is favorable for a soccer kick in many scenarios. Angular velocity is defined as the change in angular position over time and is clearly visible in this motion. The kicking leg, which consists of the thigh, shank, and foot, creates a proximal to distal sequence of segmental angular velocities during the instep soccer kick. Forward motion is first initiated by the rotation of the pelvis about the supporting leg, bringing the thigh of the kicking leg forward. The image below shows the increase in measured angles of the knee from backswing to follow through in the instep soccer kick. Now, once this pelvis rotation is initiated, the hip then brings the thigh of the kicking leg forward while the knee continues to flex. This is first maximized by the thigh, then by the shank, and finally by the foot, once again demonstrating this proximal to distal evolution. Now, the angular velocity is then transferred through the foot, producing a greater linear velocity of the foot, which is then finally transferred to the ball at impact, creating a greater kicking velocity. The diagram below, specifically on the right side, shows the linear velocity of the hip, knee, and ankle after planting, and the increase in velocity through the hip at the top, the knee in the middle, and finally through the ankle and the foot at the very bottom.
Conservation of momentum. It's being able to conserve all of the momentum from the kicking leg is crucial in kicking the ball hard. An important variable is the coefficient of restitution. This describes the proportion of total energy that remains with the colliding objects after the collision occurs. The coefficient of restitution helps determine how much momentum is conserved from the kicking leg to the ball. Kicking the ball at the center compared to kicking it at an angle has a major impact on the conservation of momentum. If the ball is being hit at the center, it would follow a near straight trajectory and gain the maximum possible velocity with minimal spin. The ball demonstrates a higher forward velocity compared with the foot velocity, depending on the coefficient of restitution. In contrast, if the force applied to the ball is directed at an angle relative to the desired direction, then the ball will demonstrate a lower speed, a higher spin, and a longer and more curved path with a possible change in the final direction of the ball. Depending on the angular velocity as well, where the ball is kicked will determine how much the ball deforms. Fully inflating the ball will decrease the amount of deformation and increase the momentum that gets conserved. The image below is a picture of a ball deforming during an instep soccer kick. Ground reaction forces are crucial to the kicking motion to control the large amount of forces through the planting and kicking leg. To create the greatest kicking power, the initial forces through the plant leg are maximized with the approach to the ball occurring as fast as possible. This highlights the unique need for both propulsive and repulsive forces in the instep soccer kick, as these braking forces create the necessary rotation in the pelvis and initial forward motion of the kicking leg. The photo below shows the moment of repulsive ground reaction forces in instep soccer kick.
Now to conclude our presentation, we will return to the video of the instep soccer kick. As you can see here, the ground reaction forces are acting propulsively as he accelerates towards the ball. His knee goes into its backswing and moves through its angular acceleration as it moves towards the ball. He has the repulsive ground reaction forces that allow him to slow himself and rotate his pelvis around. And finally, the coefficient of restitution and conservation of momentum that occurs between his foot as he kicks the ball, follows through, and accelerates away. Here are our references. Thank you for listening.